In 2009 gaan Kenia gebuk onder die strafste droogte in mensgeheugenis. Miljoene stuks vee vrek. In Augustus 2010 beleef Pakistan sy ergste vloede ooit. Miljoene vierkante kilometer landbougrond word oorstroom en vernietig. Op 11 Maart 2011 word Japan getref deur die swaarste aardbewing in mensgeheugenis, wat gevolg word deur die ergste tsunami ooit, met rampspoedige nagevolge wat vandag nog gevoel word. Is hierdie bloot liekrake uiterste weerstoestande en geologiese patrone wat deel is van die aarde se siklus en wat teenwoordig was vanaf sy ontstaan? Of is dit dalk ons? Versnel ons die verhitting van ons planeet? In Suid-Afrika blyk klimaatsverandering ook 'n realiteit te wees. Oos-London is op een van die wêreld se mees asemrowende kuslyne geleë. Nie net is dit een van die gewildste branderplankbestemmings in ons land nie, maar alles hier is blykbaar ook eerste klas of selfs beter. Maar stel jouself nou die volgende voor: 'n storm met branders so hoog so 6,5 meter wat allangs hierdie kuslyn verwoesting saai. Skrikwekkend? Is dit nie? Onlangse navorsing en gebeure dui daarop dat die Oos-Kaapse kus dalk in is vir 'n rowwe tyd in die nabye toekoms. Die navorsing gee te kenne dat die onlangse vloede wat die gebied getuister het maar 'n filletjie was in vergelyking met dit wat dalk nog kom. Inwoners van Oos-London staar 'n minstens 2 grade temperatuursverhoging in die gesig oor die volgende dekade of so. Dit sal lei tot misoeste, 'n verandering in die natuurlike plantegroei en diere wat migreer na koeler areas. Ek praat nou van vratsweer wat volgens studies 'n 95% kans het om 'n werklikheid te word. Maar ons geen rede vir kommer nie. Nog nie. Die blote feit dat daar iets hieromtrent gedoen kan en moet word, gee hoop en dit bied geleenthede vir planne van aksie.
There certainly are opportunities in the Eastern Cape in terms of renewable energy opportunities. Specifically, wind is a good opportunity. Lots of wind in the Eastern Cape, everyone knows that, and also solar, and also biomass. There's lots of alien species that potentially can be used as a form of renewable energy.
East London is hosting the Eastern Cape Climate Change Conference. This is sort of a dress rehearsal for COP17, which will be taking place late in November this year. This conference consists of a variety of roundtable discussions, which will be covering climate change issues.
Let's have a look at the soil moisture days. These are the days that we measure where we can plant things.
50-50 is goed by die konferensie verteenwoordig en ons eie Simon was een van die meer omstrede gassprekers. Ons sal later terugkom na Simon.
80% of fynbos species may be extinct by the end of the century.
Is 'n gebied soos die Oos-Kaap gereed om die gevolge van klimaatsverandering die hoof te bied? Sou dit wat die wetenskaplikes voorspel blyk om waar te wees?
We are not just having a talk shop here. Part of what we've tried to do is to go through every municipality in the province to look at what projects can we have in those areas to mitigate climate change, to adapt ourselves to climate change. And as a result, we've got a package of projects that hopefully will be driving in the next year or so.
Well, the conference is where the strategizing and the talks are taking place. Out in the field is where the real work is happening. And that's where Bonne is getting a hands-on experience.
Weerpatrone bepaal wat en wanneer boere plant. Nou enige abnormale weeromstandighede kan rampspoedige gevolge hê op die produksievermoë van enige boerdery. So presies hoe hanteer boere hierdie weersveranderinge? En is dit werklik vir hulle so 'n groot probleem? Is klimaatsverandering vir boere 'n realiteit?
I don't believe in weather change. I think it's a long-term natural cycle. Things turn, you have droughts, you have floods. It keeps on going.
Have you noticed any changes in weather patterns over the years?
It's like the old people say, you're going to have droughts, you're going to have dry periods, you're going to have rainy periods. So exactly what they're saying is what's happening.
Klimaatsverwarming en daai goeders, ek weet nie hoe dit 'n rol speel. Ek weet in ons boerdery kan dit 'n verskil maak en ou moet daarna kyk. Maar weet ons hou maar dop van dag tot dag en ons pas aan soos wat ons gaan.
And there are winners and losers. In some areas where you've seen some increased rainfall, there may be a chance, for instance, that new crops will be able to grow there. So there's some winners. But there are also a whole bunch of agricultural losers. But the scary fact here is, what is all this white stuff here? That white stuff basically is pieces of land that will have a climate that is unknown anywhere in the country today, an exotic climate. The victim, as is typical of climate change, must be one of the biggest examples of global environmental injustice. The losers are the poor.
As hierdie voorspellings korrek is, gaan groot gedeeltes landbougrond in onherbergsame landstreke verander. Maar wat van die kleinskaalse boere wat van die hand tot die mond lewe? Of meer nog, private groentetuintjies soos hierdie wat 'n noodsaaklike rol speel in die voeding van behoeftige kinders in van hierdie gemeenskappe? 'n Enorme vloed het 'n klein dorpie Duncanville wat nie baie ver hiervan afgeleë is nie getref 'n paar jaar gelede en baie van hierdie kindertjies se ouers het in hierdie vloed omgekom. Hierdie is nou kinders wat na kinders omsien en elkeen van hulle is afhanklik van hierdie gebruikte bandgroentetuintjie. How did you get to the idea of using tyres, old tyres for your vegetable garden?
A lady called Tracy was introduced to me. She is from Trees for School. She's the one that came out with the idea. That is how we started to plant on tyres. And it was a great help because we didn't have a bigger space, but planting inside the tyres, you can plant many veggies in a tyre, meaning you don't need a bigger space to do that. You just put a tyre, some soil and the seedlings.
Now, how many kids do you feed on a daily basis?
There are 83 children, yeah.
Thank you, Father, for the food, many, many blessings, many, many blessings. Amen.
Pumsa, what impact does the weather have on a small vegetable garden like that?
If it rains a lot, the seedlings can't survive. They automatically die when there is too much water in a tyre. In cases where there is drought, we go to rivers and fetch water so that we can water the vegetables because they cannot survive without water. And even if there is too much wind, the veggies will wither till they die.
I hope everybody understands what climate change is, what is causing climate change, and why we should be worried about climate change.
In 10 to 15 years, we're going to have weather changes, storms, floods. Even you guys with a vegetable garden like that, it's going to have a negative impact. So we all need to look at what it is and what we can do to change it.
But the real victims are the people that have never actually contributed to the climate change in the first place. And this is typical of what will happen in South Africa. Small, dry land farmers, so farmers that do not have access to irrigation, for instance, are going to be hugely impacted.
Intussen het Simon sy kop in 'n byenes gesteek.
Americans started worrying about their carbon footprints. Not because they suddenly were enthused by George Bush to become greenie beanies and worry about climate change, but because petrol was suddenly costing them $3 a gallon. Same thing applies here in South Africa. When were you most concerned about your carbon footprint? Okay? When did you first consider buying an electric car, honestly and truly? Was it when you looked across the bonnet of your Beamer and realized you were paying 10 Rand a litre for petrol? Don't get involved in climate change strategies if you're not doing your day-to-day job properly. That is step one. You can't be worrying about the rainfall that's going to fall in 50 years' time if you're pumping raw sewage into your rivers tomorrow or today. But if we're not doing the small picture stuff properly, if our grade 1s and 2s are not being taught to read and write, those are the things that I would like to see the Eastern Cape worrying about. Look after what we've got. Don't put the cart before the horse and start worrying about climate change if you're not doing your day-to-day job properly. And I'm speaking particularly to local government here. I know that I've given you a bit of a hard time today precisely because I wanted to just make sure that we were thinking about this rationally. This part of the world, it is such an important and gorgeous part of the world. You guys are so lucky to be the custodians of this land. And so I congratulate you on the route that you're going with this response strategy. And I also charge you to look after it carefully.
Stel jouself ons planeet voor onder 'n dik kombers van rook en vullis. Ons lieflike planeetjie wat in die ruimte hang, gaan een of ander tyd stadig begin verhit en die lewe self gaan ondraaglik word. Ons het geen ander inkome nie. Geen. As ons nie nou begin om planeet Aarde ernstig op te neem nie, gaan ons net onsself kan blameer as alles in duie stort. Ons moet na Moeder Aarde se boodskappe luister en haar begin koester, eerder as om haar te vernietig.